I'm sitting here, staring at the papers in my hand, the ink blurring as my eyes burn with tears I refuse to let fall. You ever feel like the ground beneath you just vanished? Like everything you thought you knew was a lie? And the person you trusted most was the one pulling the strings? That's where I was 3 years ago. Alone in a lawyer's office, holding proof that my ex-husband, the man I'd built a life with, had sold assets in my name, millions of dollars worth, and he thought I'd never find out. He thought silence would bury me. This isn't just a story about betrayal, Ta. God, there's plenty of that. It's about what happens when someone underestimates you, when they think they can weaponize your trust against you. My name's Elena, and I'm 30 for now. But back then, I was a different woman. Softer, maybe. Naive, definitely. I married David when I was 26. Fresh out of grad school, full of dreams about a future we'd build together. He was charming. The kind of guy who could walk into a room and make everyone feel like they mattered. I fell hard. We'd lie awake at night, whispering about the house we'd buy, the kids we'd raise, the legacy we'd leave. I thought we were a team, but teams don't keep secrets, do they? Not the kind that shatter everything. It started small, the cracks I didn't notice at first. David was always the one handling our finances. You're too busy with work, babe, he'd say, flashing the smile I used to love. Let me take care of it. And I did. I trusted him. I was teaching at the university, grading papers late into the night, while he managed our accounts, our investments, our properties. We owned a few, nothing crazy, but enough to feel secure. A rental in the city, a vacation home by the lake, and a small commercial lot we'd bought as an investment. I didn't think twice about signing the papers he slid across the table every now and then. Just standard stuff, he'd say. Keeps everything in both our names. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? The first hint something was wrong came during a dinner party. God, I can still picture it, the clink of wine glasses, the hum of conversation, the way the candlelight flickered across David's face as he laughed with our friends. Someone, I don't even remember who, asked about the lake house. You guys still renting it out, they said. I nodded, but David's laugh faltered, just for a second. Oh, we sold that ages ago, he said, casual as anything. I froze. Sold? I hadn't signed anything about selling the lake house. I hadn't even heard about it. I looked at him, waiting for the punchline, but he just squeezed my hand under the table, hard enough to make me flinch. Eleanor's been so busy, she probably forgot, he said, and everyone laughed. I laughed too, because what else could I do? But my stomach twisted. That night, I couldn't sleep. His words kept looping in my head. Sold, forgot, the way he'd gripped my hand, like a warning. I waited until he was snoring, then slipped out of bed and went to his office. I don't know what I was looking for, maybe nothing. Maybe just reassurance. His desk was a mess, papers scattered everywhere. But one folder caught my eye. It was labeled property transfers. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside were deeds, contracts, notarized documents, all in my name, all signed by me, except I hadn't signed them. The signatures looked like mine, same loops, same slant, but I'd never seen these papers before. The lake house was gone. The commercial lot too. Sold for millions, wired to accounts I didn't recognize. My heart pounded so loud I thought it'd wake him. I didn't confront him. Not then. I was too scared of him, but of what it meant. If he could do this, what else had he done? What else was he hiding? I started digging, quietly, carefully. I'd wait until he was at work, then pore over bank statements, emails, anything I could find. It was like peeling back layers of a life I didn't recognize. He'd opened accounts I didn't know about, moved money in ways I couldn't trace. Every discovery felt like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just about money, it was about control. He'd been playing me for years, and I'd been too blind to see it. The worst part, he didn't act any different. He'd come home, kiss my forehead, ask about my day. We'd watch movies, make dinner, laugh like nothing was wrong, that every smile felt like a lie now. Every touch made my skin crawl. I started noticing things I hadn't before: the way he'd change the subject when I mentioned money, the way he'd lock his phone when I walked into the room. I felt like I was living with a stranger. And maybe I was. I hired a private investigator. I know, it sounds dramatic, like something out of a movie. But I didn't know what else to do. I needed answers, and I couldn't trust David to give them to me. The investigator's name was Marcus, a gruff guy in his 50s who looked like he'd seen it all. I met him in a diner, handed him the folder of documents, and watched his face harden as he flipped through them. "This is forgery," he said, not sugarcoating it. "And it's not amateur. Whoever did this knew what they were doing." I didn't cry. I just nodded like I'd known it all along. Marcus promised to dig deeper: bank records, wire transfers, anything that could tie David to the sales. "Be careful," he told me. "Guys like this don't like getting caught. Be careful." Those words stuck with me. I started double-checking the locks at night, keeping my phone on me at all times. I felt like I was unraveling, but I couldn't stop. I had to know how far this went. Marcus called me a week later, his voice low, urgent. "Elena, you need to come to my office now." I drove there in a daze, my hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. When I walked in, he didn't waste time. "Your ex-husband's been funneling money offshore," he said. "Cayman Islands, mostly. He's been using your name to dodge taxes, hide assets, the signatures, professional forgeries. And there's more." He slid a photo across the desk, a grainy shot of David in a parking lot, handing an envelope to a man I didn't recognize. "That's a known fixer," Marcus said. "Handles dirty money, makes problems disappear." I felt sick. This wasn't just about selling a house or two. This was bigger, darker. David wasn't just betraying me, he was building a whole other life, one I wasn't part of. I thought about confronting him, screaming, demanding answers. But Marcus stopped me. "Don't," he said. "Not yet. If he knows you're onto him, he'll cover his tracks. You need evidence, undeniable proof." So I waited. I played the part of the clueless wife, smiling through dinners, pretending everything was fine. It was torture. Every day felt like a performance, and I was drowning in it. Then came the moment I couldn't ignore. It was a Thursday, one of those gray, rainy days that make everything feel heavier. I was home early, grading papers, when I got a call from our bank. "Mrs. Carter," the woman said, her voice clipped. "We need to verify some transactions on your account." Transactions, plural. I felt the air leave my lungs. "What transactions?" I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. She rattled off numbers: hundreds of thousands of dollars, moved in chunks, all tied to my name. "We just need your authorization," she said. Authorization? For money I hadn't touched, for deals I hadn't made. I hung up and sat there, staring at the rain streaking down the window. My whole life was slipping away, piece by piece, and David thought I'd never notice. He thought he could keep me in the dark forever. But he was wrong. Silence might be his weapon, but it was about to become mine too. I wasn't going to let him win at this time. The rain hadn't stopped, and neither had I. It's funny how betrayal changes you. A month ago, I'd been Elena, the professor, the wife, the woman who trusted too easily. Now I was someone else: Amin, who checked her husband's phone when he showered, who hid copies of bank statements in a locked drawer, who met with a private investigator in shadowy diners like she was living in a noir film. I didn't recognize myself, but I didn't hate it either. There was a fire in me now, a need to take back what was mine. David thought he could erase me from my own life, but I was done playing his game. I started with the bank. After that call about the transactions, I couldn't sit still. I drove straight there, my hair still damp from the rain, my heart pounding like it wanted to break free. The manager, a woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense voice, sat me down and pulled up my accounts. I watched her screen, numbers flashing like a countdown to my ruin. These transfers, she said, pointing to a string of withdrawals, were authorized with your signature. My signature. There it was again, that perfect imitation of my handwriting, taunting me. I wanted to scream, to tell I hadn't signed a damn thing. But I kept my voice steady. Can you tell me where the money went? I asked. She hesitated, then clicked a few keys. Offshore accounts, she said. Cayman Islands, mostly. The paperwork's all in order. In order. Those words hit like a slap. To the bank. To the law. To anyone looking at those documents. I was the one moving millions. Hiding assets. Dodging taxes. David had set it up perfectly, made me the criminal in his story. I walked out of the bank with a folder of printouts and a knot in my stomach. I didn't go home. I couldn't face him, not yet. Instead, I called Marcus. I need everything you've got, I told him. Every transfer, every account, every lie. He didn't ask questions. Meet me tomorrow, he said. And Elena, don't do anything stupid. Stupid wasn't my plan, careful was. I spent that night in a cheap motel. The kind with flickering neon signs and stains you don't ask about. I spread the bank printouts across the bed, tracing the money's path with a pen. It wasn't just the lake house or the commercial lot anymore. There were other asset stocks. Bonds. Even a trust fund I'd never heard of, all tied to my name, all sold or transferred without my knowledge. The numbers were dizzying. David hadn't just stolen from me, he'd rewritten my entire financial existence. And for what? A new life? A mistress? Payoffs? I didn't know yet. But I was going to find out. Marcus met me the next day at a coffee shop, far from our neighborhood. He looked tired, like he'd been up all night. But his voice was steady. Your husband's not working alone, he said, sliding a manila envelope across the table. I opened it, my hands trembling. Inside were photos, emails, bank records. The photos showed David with the same man from the parking lot fixer. The emails were coded, vague references to deals and clean accounts. But one name kept popping up. Victor Grayson. I didn't know him, but Marcus did. Grayson's a money launderer, he said. High-end, discreet. If David's tied to him, this is bigger than a few property sales. Bigger. That word lodged in my throat. I thought this was personal. A betrayal between husband and wife. But now it felt like I'd stumbled into something else, something that could swallow me whole if I wasn't careful. Marcus leaned forward, his eyes locked on mine. Elena, you need a lawyer. A good one. And you need to move fast. If David suspects you're digging, he'll bury you deeper. Bury me. He didn't mean it literally, but the thought made my skin crawl. I nodded, tucking the envelope into my bag. What about the police? I asked. Marcus shook his head. Not yet. No proof he forged anything, just your word against his. Get the lawyer first. Build your case. I found a lawyer that afternoon. Her name was Rachel. A woman in her 40s with a handshake like steel and a voice that could cut through lies. I laid it all out, documents, the photos, Marcus's findings. She didn't flinch. Just took notes, her pen scratching the paper like it was carving my story into stone. This is fraud, she said when I finished. Fraud. Forgery. Maybe even identity theft. But it's messy. He's covered his tracks well. Any offshore accounts make it trickier. We'll need forensic accountants. Maybe even international law experts. I swallowed hard. Can we win? I asked. She looked at me, not unkindly. If we're smart, yes, but it won't be quick. And it won't be easy. Easy. Nothing about this was easy. Going home that night was the hardest part. David was there, cooking dinner like nothing had changed. You are late, he said, stirring a pot of sauce. His voice light. I forced a smile, my stomach churning. Work stuff. I lied. He nodded, but his eyes lingered on me a second too long. Did he know? Could he sense the way I was pulling away, building my own arsenal in the dark? I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to him, listening to his breathing, wondering who he really was. The next few weeks were a blur of secret meetings and sleepless nights. Rachel hired a forensic accountant, a guy named Sam who could trace money like a bloodhound. Sam found more shell companies, fake charities, accounts laid so deep it was like peeling an onion. Every discovery made me angrier, but it also made me stronger. David thought he could silence me, thought I'd stay the obedient wife forever, that he didn't know the woman I was becoming. I started recording our conversations, just in case. Small things, comments about money, vague answers about his work. I hid the files on a flash drive, taped under my desk drawer. Then came the call that changed everything. It was Rachel, her voice tight. "Elena, we found something. A paper trail, sloppy. Not like him. It ties David directly to Grayson and one of the offshore accounts. It's not enough to nail him yet, but it's close. My heart raced. For the first time, I felt like I had a chance not just to survive this, but to fight back. I thanked her, hung up, and sat in my car, gripping the wheel. The rain was back, drumming on the roof, and I let myself cry. Not because I was broken, but because I was alive, because I was finally seeing the truth. David came home late that night, his tie loosened, his eyes tired. He didn't kiss me, didn't say much, just poured a drink and sat on the couch. I watched him, my pulse steady now. "Rough day?" I asked, my voice softer than I felt. He shrugged, staring into his glass. "Just work," he said. I nodded, but inside, I was screaming. Work, lies, secrets. I wasn't his pawn anymore. I was a player now, and I was learning the rules. The air in the house felt heavier now, like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to break. I moved through my days like a ghost, teaching classes, grading papers, smiling at David over dinner. But every moment was calculated. I wasn't just Elena anymore. I was a woman with a plan. A woman who'd learned to wield silence as fiercely as he did. He thought he was untouchable, but I was closing in, piece by piece, building a case that would unravel his lies. Rachel and Sam were my lifeline. We met in her office twice a week, poring over spreadsheets and emails, chasing the money like it was a map to his soul. Sam was relentless, digging through layers of transactions, finding cracks in David's armor. "He's good," Sam said once, his voice grudgingly impressed. "That he's not perfect. Nobody is." That became my mantra, not perfect. Every time I doubted myself, every time I felt the weight of his betrayal, I'd whisper it. Not perfect. He'd made mistakes, and I was going to find them. One of those mistakes was an email. Sam found it buried in a server David thought was secure. It was short, careless, sent to Victor Grayson from an account David hadn't bothered to encrypt. "Need the transfer finalized by Friday." It read. "Make sure her name's on it." Her. Me. My hands shook as I read it. But not from fear, from rage. He wasn't just stealing from me. He was framing me, painting me as the mastermind of his schemes. Rachel's eyes narrowed when she saw it. "This is gold," she said. "It's not enough on its own, but it's a start. We're getting closer." Closer. That word kept me going. But it also terrified me. Closer meant confronting him eventually, tearing down the life we'd built, facing whatever came next. I wasn't ready, not yet, but I couldn't stop either. I started noticing changes in David. He was edgier, snapping over small things, checking his phone obsessively. Once, I caught him staring at me, his eyes cold, like he was trying to see through me. "You okay?" he asked, his voice too smooth. I nodded, my heart pounding. "Just tired," I said. He didn't push, but the air between us crackled with unspoken questions. I doubled down. Marcus was still on the case, tailing David when he could, snapping photos of meetings, tracking his movements. One night, he called me with a lead. "Your husband's been visiting a storage unit," he said, "rented under a fake name." But I traced it back to him. Could be nothing or it could be everything. I didn't hesitate. "I want to see it," I told him. He tried to talk me out of it too risky, Elena, but I was done waiting. I needed to know. We went the next day. While David was at work, the storage facility was on the edge of town. A maze of concrete and metal doors. Marcus picked the lock, his hand steady, while I stood watch, my pulse racing. Inside was a filing cabinet, a laptop, and a stack of burner phones. My stomach twisted as Marcus opened the cabinet. More documents, passports, deeds, contracts, some in my name, some in names I didn't recognize. The laptop was password protected, but Marcus took it anyway. I know, Guy, he said. We'll crack it. That night, I couldn't eat. I kept seeing those papers, those fake identities. Who was David, really? The man I'd loved? The one who'd promised me forever? Was he ever real? I wanted to believe there was something left, some piece of him I could salvage. But the truth was colder. He'd used me, and he'd do it again if I let him. I couldn't let him. Rachel called the next morning with news. Sam traced the email to an account in Grayson's name, she said. And the storage unit. The documents match transfers we've been tracking. We've got him, Elena. Not all the way, but enough to start building a case. A case. It felt so clinical, so far from the raw ache in my chest. But it was something, proof I wasn't crazy, proof I could fight back. I thanked her, my voice steady, but inside, I was spiraling. Building a case meant going public, meant facing him in court, meant tearing everything apart. I didn't confront him, not yet. I needed more evidence, more time, more courage. But I stopped pretending. When he came home that night, I didn't smile, didn't ask about his day. I just watched him, letting the silence speak for me. He noticed something wrong, he asked, his tone light but his eyes sharp. I shook my head, my lips tight. Just thinking, I said. He didn't push, but I saw a flicker of doubt in his face. Good. Let him wonder. Let him feel the walls closing in. The next day, Marcus cracked the laptop. What he found wasn't just a smoking gun, it was a wildfire. Emails, ledgers, recordings. David hadn't just sold a seat, he'd been laundering money for years, using my name as a shield. The recordings were the worst. His voice, calm and cold, talking to Grayson about cleaning accounts, about keeping me in the dark. She won't notice, he said in one. She trusts me. I listened to it alone, in my car, the rain pounding outside. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, letting his words burn into me, fueling me. I wasn't his victim anymore. I was his reckoning, and I was ready to make him pay.